Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and share this video, because tonight's story is not just a creepy tale, it's a warning. You see, sometimes the most innocent things we take for granted, like a classified ad, can open a door to something far darker than we could ever imagine. Story 1. The Craigslist Nightmare. A few years ago, I moved to a brand new city. I left everything behind. My old job, my old friends, even the tiny apartment that once felt like home. I wanted a fresh start. The house I found was quiet, tucked in a neighborhood where people mostly kept to themselves. But it was empty. All I had were a couple of boxes of clothes and a foldable bed. Imagine living in a place like that. Nothing but echoing footsteps and the sound of the wind seeping through the cracks at night. I needed furniture, and I needed it cheap. That's when I thought of Craigslist. I'd used it before for smaller things, never had an issue. I figured as long as I met sellers in public, nothing bad could happen. I was wrong. Danger doesn't always look like danger. Sometimes it hides behind a friendly smile and a really good deal. The ad that caught my eye was for a gray L-shaped sofa. In the photo, it looked almost brand new. The seller's name was Brian. Price? Just $200. I messaged him and he responded immediately. His tone was casual, friendly. He even sent me more photos to prove the condition. I told him I wanted it. But there was a problem. I only owned a small SUV, way too small to carry something that size. Brian offered a solution. No worries, I have a pickup truck. I can drop it off at your place, save you the trouble. At first I hesitated. My personal rule had always been, never give strangers your home address, but Brian seemed so easygoing, so trustworthy, that I convinced myself it was fine. So I gave him the address. We agreed on 5:30 p.m. the next evening. I cleaned out the living room, excited to finally have furniture. But 5:30 came and went. Instead, I noticed a black pickup truck drive slowly past my house. Its bed was empty. It drove past once, then circled back. This time it crept even slower, as though the driver was studying every house. Then it disappeared. A few minutes later it came back again. Still empty, still slow. Something in my stomach turned cold. I texted Brian. "Hey, are you close?" No reply. I texted again. Message failed. I tried calling. The number no longer existed. Maybe he'd sold the sofa to someone else, I thought. But that night I learned the truth. Sometime after midnight I drifted off while watching YouTube. The sound that woke me felt like a nightmare. Creak, creak. It was the front door. That unmistakable squeal from the rusted hinge. But I had locked the door. I was sure of it. Then I heard footsteps, heavy, slow, crossing the wooden floor of my empty living room. My heart slammed in my chest. Then came a voice, deep, scratchy, male. It spoke my name, over and over. It echoed up the staircase, low and distorted like a broken recording. I grabbed my phone with trembling hands and dialed 911. The operator told me to stay hidden until officers arrived, so I slid into the closet, holding my breath, phone clutched against my chest. The voice stopped. Silence. The kind of silence that presses against your ears, heavy and suffocating. I swore I could feel him just outside the closet door, listening. When the police finally arrived, they found the front lock pried open, but the house was empty. No Brian, no stranger, no sofa, just me, shaking, terrified and very aware that someone had been inside. A year later, I convinced myself it had been an isolated incident. Life goes on, right? I needed some decorations to make the place feel less empty. Again, Craigslist seemed convenient. This time the seller was named April. Her texts were polite, friendly, even bubbly, nothing suspicious. She listed a box of home decor for $20, too good to pass up. We arranged to meet in the parking lot of a busy supermarket at 6 p.m. A safe place, I thought. But when I arrived, April messaged me. "Sorry, I got held up. Could you drive to the other lot just around the corner? I'll be there." It annoyed me, but $20 wasn't worth arguing. So I agreed. That lot, however, was almost deserted. Most of the shops had already closed. Streetlights flickered. In the far corner I saw a red SUV. April had said she'd be driving a red SUV. Relieved, I walked toward it. The driver's door opened, but instead of April, a man stepped out. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a thick jacket despite the warm weather. He smiled. April's busy. I'm here instead. Every instinct screamed at me. I forced a smile, pulled out my phone and said, "No problem. Let me just call her real quick." I dialed the number. From inside the man's jacket came the sound of a phone ringing. I didn't think. I bolted to my car, slammed the locks down, and sped off. In my rearview mirror, the man stood still in the flickering light, watching me vanish. The last time I ever used Craigslist was for a set of tools. The seller told me to come to his place, a small town outside the city. By the time I arrived, the sky was dark. His house was a weathered wooden cabin, dim light seeping from inside. He opened the door, a thin, disheveled man. He barely spoke, just gestured toward a bag of tools placed neatly on a chair. I bent to check them, turned back to pay. He was gone. I called out. Silence. Then a faint creaking noise echoed from somewhere deeper inside the cabin, like the building itself was breathing. My skin crawled. I stepped back. That's when I saw him, a huge figure at the end of the hallway, perfectly still. From the kitchen, footsteps approached, slow, heavy. Panic surged through me. I sprinted to the back door, kicked it open, and tore into the night. But as I rounded the corner toward my car, another man stood up from behind it, blocking my path. I swerved, dodged him, dove into my car, slammed the locks, and floored the gas. In the rearview mirror, I saw them. 3 silhouettes standing side by side in the weak porch light, unmoving, watching. After escaping 3 times, I finally started researching, and what I found made my stomach drop. There were countless cases, worldwide, of people lured through Craigslist ads, robberies, assaults, kidnappings, even murders. The platform was meant to connect people, but for predators it was the perfect hunting ground. I thought I was just buying a sofa, a box of decor, a bag of tools, but to them, I was the product. Even now, whenever someone mentions Craigslist, a chill runs down my spine. I was lucky. I survived. 3 times. But I know not everyone does. So listen closely. Sometimes the real cost of a good deal isn't money. It's your life. Thank you for listening until the end. If this story disturbed you, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share it, so I can keep bringing you more horror stories from the darkest corners of the world. And remember, danger doesn't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes it waits for you behind a smiling text message, a harmless ad, or a knock at the door. Sleep well. Story 2, The Photographer's Offer. It was only a few weeks after the final incident with the cabin when I stumbled across another post online. No, it wasn't me looking for furniture or tools. By that point, I had sworn off Craigslist. But this story, this one happened to a friend of mine, and it still makes my blood run cold. Her name was Emily. Emily had just graduated college and dreamed of becoming a model. She wasn't naive, at least not more than any of us at that age. She knew the industry was tough, but she also knew she had to start somewhere. One evening, she found an ad posted in the creative gigs section of Craigslist. A photographer was offering free professional headshots for new talent, claiming he wanted to expand his portfolio. It sounded perfect. A chance to save money, get quality photos, and maybe even land some opportunities. She showed me the ad. The photos displayed his previous work, sharp, professional, with models smiling under perfect lighting. The man's name was listed as Mark. I remember telling her to be careful. But Emily was excited. She emailed him and he replied almost instantly. He praised her look, told her she had the face of someone who could really go far. Flattery. That was his hook. They arranged to meet in his studio downtown. Emily said when she arrived, the place looked legitimate enough. It was a small loft with backdrops, lights, and even framed portraits on the walls. Mark greeted her with a warm smile, shaking her hand firmly, acting every bit the professional. At first, everything seemed fine. He snapped dozens of shots, adjusted lights, even showed her previews on his camera, but as the session went on, his directions became strange. He told her to remove her jacket, then her shoes, then to pose in ways that didn't feel like headshots anymore. Emily hesitated. She told him she was uncomfortable. That's when his tone changed. His smile disappeared. His voice dropped low. "You're wasting my time." He walked to the door and locked it. That was the last anyone heard from Emily. She missed our scheduled coffee the next day, didn't respond to texts. Calls went straight to voicemail. Her roommate said she never came home that night. Police were contacted. They tracked the Craigslist ad, but it had already been deleted. The email address was fake. The phone number was a burner. The studio she described? It was real, but rented by the day. By the time investigators searched it, the space was spotless, stripped of every trace she'd been there. Emily was gone. Weeks later, I received an anonymous email. No subject line, no signature, just one attachment. It was a photo of Emily, but not the smiling, confident Emily I knew. She was pale, terrified, eyes wide as though she'd been crying for hours. Behind her, in the blurred background, you could barely make out the shadow of a man. The file was titled, "Perfect Capture JPG." I sent it to the police immediately, but the email was untraceable. That was 2 years ago. Emily has never been found. When I think back to my own encounters, the sofa, the red SUV, the cabin, I realize how easily I could have ended up like her. Emily trusted the wrong person. She thought the worst that could happen was wasting an afternoon. Instead, she vanished. And to this day, her story is shared among those who warn about the hidden dangers of online classifieds. Because if my story was about barely escaping, hers is about what happens when you don't. So let this be clear. Craigslist, marketplace, classifieds, whatever you call them, they aren't just places to buy and sell. They are hunting grounds, and predators are still out there, waiting. Story 3, the free piano. It was a case that made headlines a few years back, and while it might sound like the setup to a harmless urban legend, I assure you, this story is true. It all began with a simple Craigslist post. Someone was giving away a piano, no strings attached. The ad described it as an upright Yamaha in excellent condition, free to whoever could come pick it up. The only reason for giving it away? The family was moving, and they didn't want to take it with them. A free piano. For musicians, collectors, or even just bargain hunters, it was the opportunity of a lifetime. Dozens of people responded to the ad. One of them was a man named David. David loved music. He wasn't wealthy, but he dreamed of owning a piano one day. Seeing that post felt like fate. The address given was in a rural part of town, about 40 minutes away from the city. The instructions were clear. Bring help. Piano is heavy. Back door will be open. Just come in and take it. Strange? Yes. But the excitement of a free piano drowned out any suspicion. So David and his friend loaded a truck with straps, blankets, and a dolly, and drove out to the address. The neighborhood was quiet. Almost too quiet. The house itself looked run down, its paint peeling, the front yard overgrown. But sure enough, the back door was unlocked. They stepped inside. The air inside was heavy. Dust hung in the light, seeping through broken blinds. The house was empty, silent, but no piano. Instead, on the kitchen counter, they found something else. 2 glasses, half filled with water, fresh, as though someone had been there only moments earlier. "Hello?" David called out. No answer. They moved deeper inside, hearts pounding. That's when they noticed the basement door was slightly ajar, and from the darkness below came the faint sound of footsteps. Before they could react, the door slammed shut. Heavy locks clanked from the outside. They were trapped. Panic set in. They pounded the door, shouting, but no one answered. Then, from the other side of the basement, another door opened and a man appeared, tall, masked, holding something metallic in his hand. He didn't speak. He just stood there staring, breathing. David and his friend didn't wait to see what came next. They rammed the locked basement door with all their strength, over and over, until finally the wood cracked. They burst outside, sprinting to their truck without looking back. As they sped away, David glanced in the rearview mirror. The masked man was standing in the doorway, watching them vanish. When police were called, they investigated the house, but it was abandoned. No furniture, no glasses of water, no sign of anyone living there. The ad was, of course, gone from Craigslist. The account deleted. Neighbors later told detectives that the house had been empty for months. So who placed the ad? Who set the trap? And most importantly, what would have happened if David and his friend hadn't broken free? Stories like these aren't rare. Free couches, free electronics, free pianos, they're bait. Not everyone walks away. And the scariest part? The predators who set these traps rarely get caught. They just wait and post again. Story 4. The Craigslist Killer. Some stories are just rumors, some are warnings. But this one is real. In 2009, the headlines across America screamed the same chilling name: the Craigslist Killer. His real name was Philip Markoff. On paper, he was the definition of success. A 23-year-old medical student at Boston University. Tall, clean-cut, engaged to his college sweetheart. The kind of man parents wanted their daughters to marry. But online, he was something else entirely. Behind his charm and white lab coat, Markoff was leading a double life, and Craigslist was his hunting ground. It started with an ad, not for furniture, not for cars, but in the erotic services section. Women who advertised massages, companionship, or other services met with clients through anonymous listings, and Philip Markoff, the medical student, answered those ads. But he wasn't looking for intimacy. He was looking for victims. On April 10, 2009, a woman named Tricia Leffler, an escort who advertised on Craigslist, agreed to meet Markoff at a hotel in Boston. He showed up polite, professional, the kind of man who put her at ease, until he pulled out a handgun. He tied her up, gagged her, and robbed her at gunpoint before vanishing into the night. She survived. 4 days later, another woman wasn't so lucky. Julissa Brisman, a 25-year-old masseuse, also met him at a hotel. This time, the meeting ended in violence. Julissa fought back, but Markoff shot her 3 times in the chest. She died in the hallway, her last moments captured on hotel surveillance cameras. Police connected the crimes quickly. The attacks were similar, the suspects matched, and surveillance footage gave them their first real lead. A tall young man carrying himself with the confidence of someone who didn't belong in handcuffs. Through phone records and emails, investigators traced the meetings back to one person, Philip Markoff, the golden boy of Boston University, the fiancé, the future doctor, and yet secretly, the Craigslist killer. When officers finally arrested him, they found rope, duct tape, handcuffs, and a handgun hidden in his apartment. His fiancée was blindsided. She refused to believe the man she loved was capable of such horror. But the evidence was undeniable. Markoff was charged with murder, armed robbery, and kidnapping. The case shocked the world. The perfect life he'd built crumbled overnight. In jail, he maintained his innocence, but the truth was too heavy to outrun. On August 15, 2010, Philip Markoff was found dead in his cell. He had taken his own life. The Craigslist killer wasn't a faceless monster hiding in the shadows. He was a doctor, a fiancé, a man everyone trusted. That's what made him so terrifying. Because evil doesn't always look like the villain in a horror movie. Sometimes it looks like the boy next door. And while Craigslist shut down its erotic services section after the case, the danger never truly disappeared. The platforms changed. The predators didn't. So the next time you scroll through an ad that seems too good, too easy, too perfect, remember this: the Craigslist killer was real, and there are others still out there, waiting. If you've made it through all 4 chilling Craigslist stories, From the harmless-looking items to the deadly traps, and the true case of the Craigslist killer, you already know. The darkest dangers often hide in plain sight. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss the next terrifying story. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 4 stories haunted you the most? Drop your answer in the comments. And who knows, your thoughts or even your own experience might inspire the next episode.